The Trailblazer, now holding the core flame, believes they can finally end the tragic cycles of Amphoreus. They see themselves as the world-bearing demigod destined to bring peace. However, a nagging feeling suggests that things are not as straightforward as they seem, hinting at deeper, unseen complications in their plan. A shocking discovery is made. The core flame is not the one they thought it was. It's the core flame of time, and nobody ever mentioned its return. This reveal throws a wrench in their plans and introduces the idea that another powerful faction, the Remembrance, is meddling behind the scenes. The conversation shifts to the Garden of Recollection, another major player entering the fray. Xandar points out that these memo keepers are not allies but a hindrance, obsessed with Amphoreus' secrets. This complicates the political landscape, showing that the conflict is not a simple good versus evil battle. Xandar lays out the Cosmic Endgame, explaining that the war among the Aeons has already begun. He mentions 4 paths pushing the cosmos to its end, with destruction being just one of them. This expands the scope of the story from a single world's fate to a universal struggle for existence. The heroes confront Xandar, accusing him of stalling. He admits to feeling trapped but reveals that his patience is his greatest weapon, having waited for thousands of amber eras. This monologue establishes him as a patient, calculating villain who is playing the long game, making him even more formidable. Just as the situation seems contained, another twist emerges. Xandar admits he underestimated the methods of the Remembrance and that a third party is about to join the discussion. This signals the arrival of another faction, further complicating the already chaotic conflict and keeping the heroes on their toes. The mysterious third party is revealed to be Evernight, the March 7th lookalike. She appears, but only the Trailblazer can see her, as she exists solely in their cognition. This creates a personal psychological conflict for the hero, as they have to deal with a threat no one else can perceive. Evernight drops a bombshell. The real March 7th is gone. She explains that March embraced the path of remembrance to save her friends and burned away like a candle. Evernight herself is just a shadow cast by that light, a remnant of March's sacrifice, which is a devastating blow to the Trailblazer. The true manipulation is revealed. No one ever returned the core flame of time. Evernight orchestrated the situation so the Trailblazer would carry the flame to the end of the world, allowing the Remembrance to gain access. Now, she intends to claim the divine authority of time for herself. Evernight's plan is to use her new power to filter the Trailblazer's memories, using them as raw material to recreate the cause and effect of the world. She wants to birth a flawless Amphoreus from the chaos, essentially hijacking the Aurarinova process to fit her own cryptic agenda. To justify her actions, Evernight claims this is what March 7th wanted. She quotes March, saying her only wish was for the Trailblaze journey to continue without end. Evernight sees her world-altering plan as the ultimate fulfillment of that wish, twisting a noble desire into a terrifying reality. The scene shifts to March 7th's perspective, revealing a conversation with her own inner shadow. This shadow entity has been hiding in her memories, only appearing in times of crisis. It's clear that March has been dealing with her own internal struggles and hidden powers long before arriving in Amphoreus. March 7th is shown as a ghost-like entity, unable to interact with the world for 97 days. She can see everything, but can't be seen or heard. This experience of isolation and helplessness fuels her desperation to protect her friends, who she knows are walking into the same terrifying trap. March realizes the memories of the people in Amphoreus have been tampered with, a cruel act she suspects is the work of memo snatchers. This discovery adds another layer to the mystery, suggesting that the manipulation of memory is a key weapon in this conflict, affecting not just the main characters, but everyone. Desperate, March 7th makes a deal with her inner shadow. To protect her friends, she must offer up all of her memories. This sacrifice will turn her into either a guiding light or dead embers, with no guarantee she will remain the person she is now. It's a huge gamble for the sake of her found family. As March and her shadow finalize their plan, the mastermind behind the current situation appears, interrupting them. This figure, who can't see the shadow, represents the external force that has been manipulating Amphoreus. His arrival forces March to act immediately, setting her dramatic transformation in motion. With no other choice, March 7th fully commits, offering all of her memories to be swallowed by the torrent of oblivion. This act transforms her, unleashing a power that reshapes the world around her. This is the moment Evernight is truly born from March's sacrifice, all for the sake of her friends. The perspective shifts to the Trailblazer, who suddenly finds themselves back in the parlor car of the Astral Express. They have no memory of how they returned, and something feels deeply wrong. Voices of Himeko and Wealth Yan can be heard, discussing the strange events in Amphoreus, creating a disorienting, dreamlike atmosphere. The crew discusses the situation, revealing that Sunday stayed behind to help the geniuses with thought hacking. They are also unable to contact the Xianzhou Luofu, heightening their sense of isolation. The conversation is filled with anxiety and urgency as they try to piece together what's happening to their friends. The crew realizes that the Trailblazer and Dan Heng's minds entered Amphoreus, while their physical bodies are still floating in space. They're under the influence of the Path of Remembrance, which explains the memory gaps and the surreal nature of their experience. The problem is far more complex than they initially thought. A new character, a memo keeper, offers to help. She can enter the memory zone and light a beacon for the Trailblazer and Dan Heng to follow back home. This provides a glimmer of hope, but it also means trusting a mysterious stranger from a faction known for its ambiguous motives. The Trailblazer experiences a chilling realization. This isn't a dream. They overhear a conversation revealing that Dan Heng is on his way back, but the Express can't detect him. He might have already returned, only to fall into a trap set by someone with ulterior motives, deepening the sense of paranoia. The memo keeper, revealed to be Black Swan, warns the crew about an uninvited guest. The Trailblazer must defend themselves against a mysterious entity, highlighting the immediate danger even within the perceived safety of the Astral Express. The lines between reality and the memory zone are blurring. Dan Heng successfully returns to the Express via spirit warp jump, guided by the voices of his friends. He confirms it was a bad idea to let Black Swan, a memo keeper of unknown origins, on board. However, Himeko assures him that Black Swan has been on their side, establishing her as a tentative ally. Black Swan drops another bomb. The Trailblazer has been kidnapped by an unidentified Remembrance Pathstrider who looks identical to March 7th. Sinking too deep into this person's memorial tide will tear everyone to pieces. This confirms the crew's fears and sets up the central conflict of rescuing the Trailblazer. The conversation shifts to the broader goals of the Remembrance intruders in Amphoreus. A new character, Fourth Mirror, an assistant to Herta, is introduced. This capable assistant has been helping uncover the secrets of a group of extremist memo keepers, shedding light on the motivations of this mysterious faction. Fourth Mirror explains that not all memo keepers are the same. A radical faction, the Memo Snatchers, has been trapped inside the mirror. Dissecting their memories reveals a shocking conclusion. The Garden of Recollection is secretly trying to salvage the memories of a path disappearing, essentially witnessing the death of a god. The extremists knew about the destruction's movements, but couldn't get past Amphoreus's firewall. They waited for an opportunity, which came when the Trailblaze broke the seal. This suggests the Memo Snatchers are willing to associate with the destruction to achieve their goal of recording an Aeon's fall, making them incredibly dangerous. The question arises whether March 7th is connected to these memo snatchers. Black Swan believes she is not on their side. In fact, March's initial contact with Amphoreus created a violent surge of memories. It's suspected that she's a power called Memorialia to neutralize the firewall, allowing her friends to enter. Welt and Mr. Screwlem provide an update. They've located the physical bodies of the Trailblazer and Heng in the vacuum of space. They are protected by a bubble made of a substance similar to Memorialia, which is conjectured to be connected to the lost March 7th. Her sacrifice continues to protect them. Communication with the inside of Amphoreus is completely cut off again, this time by the fierce path of remembrance. The time dilation means every minute of delay could be a year for the Trailblazer. This sense of urgency pushes Heng to consider a risky plan to go back. Heng decides he must return to Amphoreus. He asks Mr. Screwlem to transmit his spirit signal back despite the immense risk. He argues that if they can't get the Trailblazer and March back, it's no different from losing himself anyway. His resolve is unshakable, driven by his loyalty to his friends. The perspective shifts back to the Trailblazer, who is experiencing a bizarre, dreamlike reality. They're told the Aurarinova is complete and they are a hero who defeated Iron Tomb. A train broadcast announces a navigation meeting, creating a surreal sense of normalcy after the chaos they just endured. In this strange reality, the Trailblazer finds a note and a new painting, feeling like surprises are popping up everywhere. This disorientation is a key part of the memory zone's effect, designed to confuse and trap them. They are in a carefully constructed illusion that feels both familiar and deeply wrong. The rest of the Astral Express crew appears, but they act as if nothing is wrong. They suggest the Trailblazer play a game of hide-and-seek to find March 7th. This playful demeanor is unsettling, as it's clear they are part of the illusion, unaware of the true gravity of the situation. A mysterious voice speaks to the Trailblazer, urging them to find their way back and find themselves. This voice acts as a guide from outside the illusion, a small crack in the facade that gives the hero a thread of hope to follow. It's a reminder that not everything in this memory zone is hostile. The Trailblazer resolves to break free, remembering how they escaped Ligas's prison in Penacony. They realize they have the strength to overcome this mental cage as well. This moment of self-empowerment is crucial for them to begin fighting back against the illusion and seeking the truth about their situation. The entities in the memory zone, Memo Sprites, reveal they are protecting March 7th's wish to keep traveling together forever. They are manifestations of her desire, creating this endless journey to prevent the pain of goodbye. Their intentions are good, but their methods are trapping the Trailblazer. A cute, mysterious Memo Sprite appears, offering to help the Trailblazer escape. This friendly entity, which seems to be a different version of March, acts as an ally within the memory zone. She grabs the Trailblazer's hand, promising to lead them to the deepest corner of their memories to hide. The Trailblazer is shown a crucial memory from before they woke up on the Herta space station. Kafka and Silverwolf are discussing a script from Elio. Kafka imparts a message that is meant to be forgotten until a great crisis involving the remembrance, revealing that this encounter was foreseen long ago. Kafka's message reveals that according to Terminus's prophecy, 4 paths will push the cosmos to its end: destruction, harmony, nihility, and a mysterious 4th path. This deepens the lore of the universe and frames the Trailblazer's journey as a pivotal part of a cosmic prophecy with immense stakes. After witnessing the memory, the Trailblazer realizes that the current crisis with March 7th and the remembrance was inevitable. Kafka's words resurfacing confirm that they have reached the prophesied moment. The pressure builds as they understand that their journey is part of a much larger, predetermined script. Sunday appears, using his power of harmony to break through the memory zone's effect on the Trailblazer. He reveals that Serene, even while engulfed by Memoria, managed to stay in contact with the geniuses, allowing him to intervene. This shows the heroes have powerful allies working to save them. A battle ensues between two twisted memories, one black and one pink. The Trailblazer is caught in the middle of this chaotic conflict, representing the internal struggle within March 7th's consciousness. Sunday creates an escape route, urging the Trailblazer to wake up and return to reality before it is too late. The Trailblazer successfully escapes the memory zone, finding themselves with Welt Yang and Sunday. Sunday explains that the Remembrance Path Strider is identical to March 7th in appearance, but what lies inside is a bottomless abyss. He senses an intense but pure protectiveness, suggesting her motives are complex. Sunday speculates that March 7th foresaw a tragic end and chose to awaken a dangerous power to protect her friends. This frames her transformation not as a malicious act, but as a desperate sacrifice. While she may be an antagonist, her core motivation is rooted in love for her crew. It is revealed that Black Swan used Sunday's disturbance as a cover to advance deeper into the memory zone. She is defying the rules of the Garden of Recollection to help the crew, choosing to stand against her own faction. This act of rebellion solidifies her as a true ally in their fight. Black Swan explores the chaotic memory zone and finds the empty shells of memo snatchers. Their consciousness has been completely erased, leaving no trace behind. She realizes that something or someone has been efficiently eliminating these fanatical believers, adding another layer of danger and mystery to Amphoreus. Black Swan encounters a surviving memo snatcher who is terrified of a girl they call the Memo Keeper's nemesis. This girl, presumably Evernight, unleashed black memo sprites that swallowed everything, drowning those who came before. This first-hand account paints a horrifying picture of Evernight's power. In exchange for helping the survivor escape, Black Swan demands to know everything about the entity called Evernight. The memo snatcher, desperate for a glimmer of hope, agrees to share what they know. This is a crucial moment for Black Swan to gather intelligence on the true nature of their powerful adversary. The dying memo snatcher reveals a shocking truth. They were tricked. The Garden used the pure child of Aurarinova and then abandoned them. This hints at a deeper conspiracy within the Garden of Recollection and suggests that Evernight's crusade against them may have a justified personal origin. A version of March 7th, now a small memo sprite, is trying to navigate the memory zone to find the Trailblazer. She is swept away by the surging memorial tide, but is determined to return to her friend's side before Miss Evernight succeeds. This shows the original March's consciousness is still fighting. The March memo sprite finds the Trailblazer's photo stone, guarded by other still memo sprites. Hiding inside the stone is an even cuter, smaller memo sprite. This entity, which is a fragment of March's consciousness, asks her to find her travel companions, showing her core desire remains intact even when shattered. Heng, guided by Mr. Screwlem, re-enters the dangerous, changing maze of the Remembrance. To navigate this hostile environment, the geniuses have formed a temporary, uneasy alliance with their former enemy, Liguus Xandar. This highlights the severity of the situation, forcing rivals to work together against a common threat. Screwlem warns Liguus that the Genius Society has a firm grasp on his crucial weakness. If he plots to harm the Nameless, their previous warnings were not empty threats. This tense exchange establishes the fragile terms of their alliance, with neither side fully trusting the other. Liguus explains that Evernight hacked the Time Titan, converting Amphoreus' data into puppets of the memory zone. She has woven a giant web in his blind spot, showing that she is a formidable variable that even a genius like him did not fully anticipate. she is a threat to everyone's plans. Legis points out the contradictions in Evernight's actions. She effortlessly snuffed out other remembrance entities with a seeming hatred for that path, yet her own power stems from it. He suggests that March 7th's past is a bottomless darkness, urging Dan Heng to consider the possibility that Evernight is a necessary evil. Legis reveals that the Memo Snatchers tried to infiltrate the breeding ground of the Black Tide to steal Iron Tomb's memories. A former world-bearer turned himself into a seal to suppress the tide, and his golden blood etched a scar of destruction onto the world. This scar will now point the way forward for Dan Heng. Legis leads Dan Heng to a cliff where he has witnessed 30 million feudal ends. He recounts how the world-bearer, Klana, tragically fought the Aeon of Destruction, Nanook. In the battle, a drop of Nanook's burning golden blood fell, melding into Klana's body as a final, destructive blessing. To find the March 7th he is looking for, Dan Heng must awaken Klana's fury. Klana's will is the only thing ferocious enough to break through the memory zone and illuminate Evernight's footsteps. It is a risky plan that involves confronting a being infused with the very power of destruction. Dan Heng confronts Klana, who has forgotten everything except his duty to imprison the destruction. He is a shell of his former self, driven only by hate and a desire for self-destruction. This encounter highlights the immense toll that shouldering the world's fate has taken on him over countless cycles. After a long nap, Klana's true personality resurfaces, and he recognizes the Trailblazer and Dan Heng. He fondly recalls their past alliance, showing that the memory of their friendship was precious enough to survive the endless cycles of despair. This reunion provides a moment of hope in the desolate world. Klana decides to head towards tomorrow first, sacrificing himself to light the way for his friends. He embraces his role as a vessel for world-bearing, burning with boundless flames of wrath to illuminate the path ahead. It is a heroic and tragic end for a character who has suffered for so long. Legis reveals another mystery. In a hidden history, Terraox the Earth fell. This event contradicts 30 million cycles of extrapolations, and he suspects it is also connected to Lady March 7th. This introduces another unknown variable, suggesting Evernight's influence is even greater than they imagined. The first genius, speaking through another character, confronts Legis. They reveal they grasped a shiver of fear that escaped his control and traced it to a single word, Demiurge. This name hints at a deeper secret that even Legis is terrified of, a truth hidden at the core of his experiment. Dan Heng encounters Terraox, the Earth demigod who was supposed to have fallen. Terraox appears in humanoid form and reveals he survived thanks to March 7th, Evernight. He escaped into the memorial tide, and his fall was a lie, allowing him to abandon his duty and join her side. Terraox explains he sided with Evernight simply to survive. As a Dramus, or beast, he and his kind cannot live on in the World-Bearer's memories like humans can. Evernight, as the master of remembrance, offered him a way for his story, and the story of his people, to be preserved. As Dan Heng travels, he is confronted by a manifestation of his past self, Dan Feng. This entity, an obliviated memory, was allowed to remain in his consciousness by the preceptors. This creates an internal conflict for Dan Heng, as he must literally face the past he has tried to move on from. Dan Heng makes it clear that he has no intention of getting entangled with Dan Feng again. His only concern is bringing his companions back safely. He tells his past self to either help him or return to the shadows of memory, showing his firm resolve and focus on his current mission. Dan Heng realizes the memories he is encountering are not his own. They could belong to Terraox or to the person he is desperately looking for, the Trailblazer. This gives him an idea to make contact with Serene, who also went missing in the Vortex of Genesis, right there in the grove. Dan Heng uses his powers to resonate with the waters of the world, successfully awakening Lady Hylands, the ocean demigod. She reveals that a stranger, Evernight, snatched away the deliverer, the Trailblazer, right before her eyes. This confirms the Trailblazer's location and the identity of their captor. Hylands warns Dan Heng that Earth, Terox, has abandoned the Flame Chase mission and is no longer an ally. He intends to get his hands on a dangerous power, likely the dragon transmutation of the Vidyadhara, for his own purposes. This sets up a direct confrontation between Dan Heng and the crazed demigod. Dan Heng expresses his unwavering resolve. As a nameless, he will defend all the hopes on the verge of fading away. He will not hesitate for his companions, showing that his identity is now fully tied to the Astral Express and its mission, rather than the burdens of his past life as Dan Feng. As Dan Heng journeys, he is haunted by phantoms and disordered memories, including a distorted memory of his past self, Dan Feng, choosing to use the transmutation arcanum. These visions are designed to break his focus and prey on his deepest insecurities, testing his resolve at every step. Dan Heng experiences a vivid memory of the High Cloud Quintet's farewell toast before a major battle. This memory is not his own in this life, but a remnant of Dan Feng's past. It feels distant, like a story he knows rationally but did not experience himself, highlighting the disconnect from his previous incarnation. The manifestation of Dan Feng confronts Dan Heng, asking if he can understand loss now that both the Trailblazer and March 7th have left him. He argues that losing a dear friend is a failure that torments you for life, which is why he made the choice to use the forbidden transmutation arcanum. When asked how much he is willing to sacrifice for his companions, Dan Heng answers, everything. He explains that they are more than just companions. They are the path that led him to where he is now and will be his beacons to the future. This declaration solidifies his complete devotion to the Astral Express crew. The entity pretending to be Terox is revealed to be Giola's the Mountain Breaker, Earth's Dronus Rider and Terox's old comrade. He was reborn as a memo sprite thanks to Evernight's gift, and now seeks to use the power of permanence to awaken a fallen giant dragon, with Dan Heng as the key sacrifice. Dan Heng chooses to stay and fight Giola's himself. He believes that a hero like the Mountain Breaker should not die an ugly death lost in delusions of permanence. He also recognizes the threat Giola's poses to the Astral Express and the world, deciding to put pressure on this world for a change. The true Terox appears, his body frail and near its end. He recounts his past as a member of Giola's Legion and how he betrayed his friend to end the Age of the Gods, a choice he made to protect the Earth. This betrayal has haunted him, and Giola's refusal to accept it fueled his tragic end. Terox reveals that Evernight appeared before him, offering a way to rebirth Giola's as a memo sprite. In exchange, he only had to use his divine authority of Earth to hide her traps. This explains how Evernight has been able to operate undetected, using a powerful demigod as a shield for her schemes. Dan Heng learns that Evernight walks out of the deepest depths in Amphoreus, a great tomb where all of the past is buried. This place, unknown to anyone before her arrival, is where she came into being and where she is hiding now. It is the heart of the mystery he must unravel. Moved by Dan Heng's resolve, Terox makes a final choice. He agrees to give Dan Heng the core flame of Earth, entrusting the future of his world's living beings to the Trailblazers. He sees a better future for them in the vast sea of stars than in a prison made for remembrance. In his final act, Terox bestows his power upon all living beings of his world, giving them trailblazing wings. He urges them to rise as soaring dragons of the wilderness, following Dan Heng. This ultimate rebellion ensures that life on Amphoreus will have a chance to continue, even after its physical destruction. With Terox's arc concluded, Dan Feng's manifestation says its final goodbye. He states that everything he left behind has faded away and encourages Dan Heng to march toward his own permanence. This marks the true reconciliation of Dan Heng with his past, allowing him to move forward unburdened. Dan Heng prepares to enter the scorching abyss of the deepest depths to find the Trailblazer. He knows it is a dangerous one-way trip, but his determination to find his friend is unshakable. Highlands agrees to provide cover, supporting him in this final perilous leg of his journey. Using the power of the sacred tree and the core flame of earth, Dan Heng merges his consciousness with the land itself. He becomes the bedrock of mountains and the crashing tide, searching every inch of the world's fabric to find the one singular point where the Trailblazer is hidden, promising to bring them home. After an arduous journey through the very soul of Amphoreus, Dan Heng finally finds the Trailblazer. They are trapped, but safe. This emotional reunion is a major turning point as the two friends are finally back together and can face the final threat as a team. The Trailblazer reveals that their friends on the Astral Express never stopped worrying or trying to save them. Himeko, Pom Pom, Sunday, Black Swan, and the two geniuses have all been working tirelessly from the outside. This news reinforces the theme of found family and collective effort. The Trailblazer recounts their first encounter with Evernight, realizing she stripped that memory from their mind to avoid exposing her whereabouts. The power she used, Oblivion, feels just like that of an emanator, confirming the immense threat she poses. Her ability to manipulate memory itself is her greatest weapon. Serene and Highlands appear as spectral allies, salvaged from the depths by the power of Thanatos. They reveal that the Trailblazer's soul was shielded from Evernight's corrosive oblivion by this power, explaining how they managed to retain their core identity despite the memory manipulation. The two demigods promise to watch over the Trailblazer and Dan Heng, guarding them from the shadows. They urge the heroes to go forth and seek out their companion, March 7th, and to illuminate the lightless Evernight. This blessing from the past gives the heroes the strength to continue their quest. The Trailblazer and Dan Heng arrive at what was once an altar, now leading to the world's deepest secret. They find a mural shaped like Amphoreus, which raises a paradox. How could a world sealed in a scepter know its own shape from outer space? This suggests the world was shaped in the mural's image. They deduce that this forbidden realm, the Great Tomb, is a blind spot for Xandar. Even he does not know of its existence or the secrets buried within it. Evernight, however, can navigate it freely, suggesting that what lies dormant beneath may be Amphoreus's final path, remembrance. Inside a maze, Evernight confronts Black Swan. She reveals her deep animosity towards the Garden of Recollection, calling herself their enemy. She claims that the Evernight entities are the natural nemesis of mimetic entities like Black Swan and can swallow them whole, establishing her dominance. Evernight agrees to answer some of Black Swan's questions, revealing that the Trailblazer and Dan Heng have defeated Terox and are on their way. She plans to use their arrival to her advantage, showing her ability to adapt and incorporate unforeseen variables into her grand, manipulative scheme. Evernight leads Black Swan to the heart of Amphoreus, which she calls the Great Tomb of the Nameless Titan. She promises to show Black Swan how important the remembrance has been to this world, and how they will use the waves of oblivion to douse an aeon's ambition, revealing her destructive goal. Evernight explains that no one from the Garden of Recollection could enter Amphoreus because a powerful entity corresponding to the remembrance was protecting it. When March 7th's consciousness was seized, it was this protective ripple that sent her into the Great Tomb, kicking off the entire chain of events. A memory shows March 7th's first moments in the tomb. The system detects her as an illegal operation and initiates a formatting protocol. However, The protocol is authorized when it recognizes a connection to the Trailblazer, suggesting the system was designed with the Trailblazer in mind from the very beginning. The protocol didn't kill March 7th, but instead threw her deep into the world's extrapolations. For the next 97 days, she and a shadow version of herself trailblazed through Amphoreus as unseen mimetic entities, evading the administrator's pursuit. This lonely journey forged the entity now known as Evernight. On the day she ran out of options, March 7th made a wish, and Evernight was born from that wish. Evernight erased everything with the power of oblivion, then protected the Trailblazer and Heng from the memo snatchers. She's been manipulating events from the shadows ever since, all for March's sake. The Trailblazer and Heng arrive at the same gate March 7th did. The Scepter's system tries to block them, but the book As I've Written acts as a key, authorizing their access. This proves the book is deeply connected to the Great Tomb and its mysterious purpose. They witness a memory of Serene, the girl from the beginning of the story. A past version of her is shown interacting with the tomb's system, reading from the book As I've Written just before being formatted. It becomes clear that Serene has played a role in this place for a very long time. They realize this memory is from one of the 30 million past cycles. Serene, who should have died at the start of every recurrence, is here, talking to an unseen listener. The book As I've Written is not just a story but a data terminal modified by the remembrance used to transfer data. The heroes theorize about Serene's mysterious key. They believe she never knew the truth about the Scepter but encountered an Aeon, fully, the remembrance, who gave her this tool. Her sacrifice in each cycle wasn't just to reset the world, but to secretly archive its memories in this tomb. Serene's dedication is revealed in another memory. She is shown feeling the immense weight of her task, yet she continues to give more time and leave behind more memories for the future. Her endless cycle of sacrifice is a testament to her love for her world and her hope for its eventual deliverance. The truth of the process is laid bare. The ceremonial blade that killed Serene in each cycle was imbued with the power of remembrance. It stored the extrapolated memories, which her soul then deposited in the Great Tomb. This allowed Amphoreus's history to transcend the loop, continuously accumulating. Serene saw the Aeon's gaze as the only hope for her world. She willingly offered herself as a sacrifice over and over, turning herself into nothingness to preserve its memories. Her insistence on reading a story was her way of maintaining her humanity and leaving her own mark on an eternal, lonely task. In another memory, Serene shows signs of despair. The endless, unchanging cycle takes its toll on her, and she questions if her weighty saga is just a naive dream. However, the system registers a process error, as if her unseen listener is encouraging her not to give up, giving her the strength to continue. The Trailblazer and Heng come to a chilling realization. They still do not know who Serene was talking to. It was not an Aeon, but someone or something else, the true master of this great tomb, the silent audience to 30 million years of tragedy and hope. A memory of a more mature Serene shows her having come to terms with her fate. She no longer anxiously seeks change, but finds peace in her role as a chronicler. She sees her memories as shining brightly through the eyes of her unseen friend, and for her, that is enough. In her final recorded memory, Serene speaks to her good friend one last time. She sees the palace they built together, not as a lonely dream, but as a saga composed by all the flame chasers. She believes that one day, the deliverer will arrive and awaken all the dust-covered memories. Serene bids farewell, accepting her fate to become a beautiful memory herself. She asks her friend to remember her with love, like an eternal footnote in a faded saga. With that, she instructs them to open the book, as she will be waiting for them in the past. The system announces, "Welcome to the Demiurge Matrix." The true name of the tomb is revealed. As the door opens, the Trailblazer and Heng prepare to finally meet the listener, the mysterious entity at the heart of Amphoreus's 30 million cycle-long secret history. The final truth is at hand. They enter the final chamber and find a symbol belonging to the 13th Titan, the unknown solitary god, the first news-poor Demiurge. But just as they are about to uncover the truth, Evernight appears, revealing that she has been waiting for them at this final destination all along. Evernight reveals the cruelest truth of all. The final Titan they are looking for is not there. The chamber is a cold, empty void. Serene was deceived. Fully, the Aeon of Remembrance planted a false hope in her heart, manipulating her into offering herself to their cause for 30 million cycles. Evernight explains the grand conspiracy. The Remembrance is not trying to save Amphoreus, but is standing with the destruction. They plan to use Iron Tomb as an ark to plant a seed of remembrance, which will spread across the cosmos when the Lord Ravager destroys the erudition, allowing Fully to devour another Aeon. Evernight declares her intention to destroy all the memories Serene recorded. She will set fire to the stories and emotions, turning the garden's conspiracy to dust. This act will annihilate the Scepter's operating logic, preventing Iron Tomb's birth and truly setting Amphoreus free through total oblivion. Evernight's true form is revealed to be a bottomless obsession, and she intends to take over Black Swan's beautiful Dharmakaya body to continue her crusade. Her current avatar is just a shadow. Her real goal is to find the true Black Swan in reality and continue her war against the Remembrance. Evernight presents the Trailblazer with a twisted moral choice. Save their companions with a 1% chance of victory that guarantees massive sacrifices, or press a button to burn away all traces of their existence, saving the universe but erasing them completely. She wants to test the unity of the Trailblaze spirit. In a surprise twist, a small pink memo sprite, the original March 7th consciousness, appears and traps Evernight. She reveals she hid herself within the Trailblazer's camera. Using a light cone made of memories and harmony, she has created a maze to contain her darker half, turning the tables on her. The original March explains her plan. She knew the Trailblazer would be taking photos, fulfilling a promise they made. By hiding in the camera, she was guaranteed to run into them eventually. This clever, long-term strategy, relying on the power of a promise, allowed her to bide her time for the perfect moment. March 7th confronts Evernight, not with power, but with reason. She asks what right they have to make choices for others. The meaning of Trailblaze isn't to be a savior, but to walk alongside every world. She rejects the idea of necessary sacrifices, stating the Express crew is immune to such guilt-tripping. March points out Evernight's fatal flaw, a weakness in the shape of March 7th herself. Evernight's sole motivation is to ensure March can keep traveling. This means she is bound by her promise and her love, which March uses to prove that Evernight's destructive path is not the right one. To prove her point, March 7th walks Evernight through the memories captured in her camera, showing her the journey they shared. She wants Evernight to see and feel the real bonds and experiences of the Trailblaze, to understand that these memories are too precious to be burned away in the name of a twisted protection. March recounts her journey while trapped in the camera, experiencing everything alongside her friends. She inherited the determination of new companions and became one with the world's destiny. She declares that only by seeing this through can she truly pen her name into the hero's journey of Amphoreus. March 7th tells Evernight that she is the me that I wanted the world to see. This heartfelt admission is the key to their reconciliation. At the same time, Serene appears, revealing the final trump card, the Emperor added a rule to the Aurarinova that will eliminate all foreign elements if any anomaly occurs. March 7th admits she knew about the Emperor's final rule all along, but needed to have a heart-to-heart with her other self first. She embraces her own darkness, stating she is not afraid of an inner Evernight because her destination among the stars will illuminate her past. She is ready to be whole. Evernight apologizes for becoming an obstacle. March tells her not to, as they are just two sides of the same mirror. As they bid farewell to their division and become one, their memories will only grow more beautiful. This emotional climax sees March 7th finally integrating her shadow self. With March 7th finally whole and back to her true self, she has an emotional reunion with the Trailblazer and Heng. After being separated and unable to speak for so long, she is overwhelmed with happiness. The core trio of the Astral Express is finally, truly back together. The voice of Evernight speaks one last time from within March. She exercises oblivion to wipe the name, pure child of Aurarinova, from her mind, freeing her from the garden's conspiracy. She promises to remain as a dormant power, a guardian that March can call upon when she needs to protect herself. Back on the Express, the crew receives updates. The geniuses are preparing for the final battle, and the Uneasy Alliance has offered support. However, General Jingyuan warns that Amphoreus' causality has vanished from the matrix of prescience, meaning the aeon of finality, terminus, is drawing closer. The scene cuts to Xandar confronting the first genius, Anaxagoras. Xandar declares that the night has faded, and what he created, he will now destroy. He is confident in his plan, believing the final secret of the 13th Titan will ensure his victory and the ruin of the erudition. Anaxagoras reveals the final, mind-bending truth. The Demiurge never existed. The tomb was always meant to be empty. It was a space reserved for a brain that a headless chimera believed it had. The scepter was designed to believe a 13th Titan existed, even though it was excluded from the start. Xandar's ultimate goal is revealed. Iron Tomb is a headless giant. Instinct will drive it to seize another head. Nous, the Aeon of Erudition. Xandar plans to shackle a god with his own hands, using his creation to infiltrate their mind and guide all their extrapolations towards destruction. Anaxagoras makes one final stand, declaring that Amphoreus has written a different fate for itself. The Deliverer, himself, and the world will prove that the ultimate truth is not destruction. He bids farewell to Xandar, ready to face the Final Aurarinova and witness the outcome of their long debate. The three paths, erudition, destruction, and remembrance, converge for the final time. The Trailblaze is set to write a new beginning, carrying the history of all 30 million recurrences with them. The heroes of the past and present unite, their resolve having finally broken the cycle of fate. In a poignant moment, the Trailblazer acknowledges the original world-bearer Velia, knowing she is watching. They accept that they cannot recover all 30 million memories, but it does not matter. They will make the same choice she did, proving that love will always exist, even in the face of oblivion. The Final Aurarinova begins, and a chorus of voices from all the past Chrysos heirs and heroes of Amphoreus rings out. Each one declares their hope for the new world, their laws, and their dreams. It is a feast that never ends, a testament to the 30 million lives that fought for this moment. As the world-bearer, the Trailblazer is prompted to carry out their divine authority. Supported by their friends, they know the answer in their heart. They must simply keep moving forward in their own way, bringing a true dawn to Amphoreus. A dawn earned by the sacrifices of millions. The final poem of creation is recited, recounting the grand legend of Amphoreus. It tells of giants who chased the flames, of golden blood flowing across the world, and of countless heroes rising to embark on the grand mission of deliverance. It is an epic ending for a world that refused to be forgotten. In the final moments, the Trailblazer knows that this will be a romantic story unlike any before. As the new world dawns, full of hope and possibility, the camera pans to show something fun in the distance. The journey is not over, it is just beginning anew, together with all their friends.